All right, welcome back. Thirsty Thursday number 52. Tonight we are honored to have Miss Tiffany Orner with us tonight. So thank you for joining us. Just in our little pre-show chat, it's going to be a great show. A lot of energy, not necessarily on either side here, but it's all going to be right down there. She's
Yes.
bringing the energy. It's going to be a great show. So we're excited to hear um, where the conversation goes, and it's going to be a lot of really good information. So, welcome everybody. It's been a while since I've been on. Ben, the IT department director for Strike the Box training. As long as it's plug this in, unplug that, then we're good. Anything more than that, we're in trouble. Um, so that's me. We're gonna kick it over to Trevor, and then we'll go down to Miss Tiffany for her introduction.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Thank you very much. And Ben, you're more than just the IT guy. You're the one that keeps this little organization of misfits afloat. Believe me, because I have no technological ability whatsoever. So if it weren't for you, we would not be on here tonight. But really excited to have Tiffany on. Want to talk a lot about not only from being a U.S. veteran, military veteran, but also some of the things you've got going on, because obviously you work for some different organizations. One Step Automotive, where you're the military engagement manager, I believe. I'm not going to steal all your thunder. I want you be able to give your intro, but also you spent some time with Grunt Style Foundation. And one thing that I'm going to give a shameless plug for right now, and I want to hear a lot about this. One of the hashtags you have is until every veteran wants for nothing, and I want to hear a lot about that tonight. So with that, Tiffany, we're very excited to have you on your show. Uh, give some introduction about yourself. Tell us what we're going to hear tonight.
Yeah. So, hi, and thank you guys so much for having me. My name's Tiffany Orner. Third generation military, second generation Air Force veteran, three children, two boys, one going loadmaster in the Air Force, and the other one is a senior, hopefully Air Force Academy. And then you hear the giggling feral queen underneath the table, and she is six. So she's gonna run the world one day, so watch out. And her name is Max. Also, my husband is Air Force Reserve, so we're literally all military everything. I it's been a long journey. Hey, my
Really cool.
yeah, my military service was really interesting. I learned a lot. We also struggled, right? We were junior enlisted. You know, uh, I was that airman in the commissary with the big WIC coupons trying to figure out which peanut butter, right, to get for my boys, which cereal, right, feeling shame because I couldn't get Jif. I had to get the no name brand. Um, I think it's called Freedom's Choice now, but it looks a lot better than it did back in the early 2000s. And then whenever we got out, we moved from Northern California to upstate New York, because at that time, like $1,500 for 500 square feet. We were two airmen with two babies. We couldn't afford that, so we moved back east and struggled there as well. Um, my ex-husband and I had a tough time. Right, I was used to the military lifestyle. I was used to getting some sort of discount because we were military. I grew up in Napa Valley, California, so everyone knew. But in upstate New York, when I asked for a military discount, my response was no, but we give a college discount, and I was confused. Right, so that was a tough blow, and it got to the point where I started to see my amazing opportunity to serve my country as a liability, because I never went to college. So yeah, it's been a long, interesting road, but I'm thankful for all of it. Right, you don't really enjoy the suck till you're through it, and yeah, here we are. So thank you guys for having me.
No, absolutely. And Tiffany, it sounds a lot like a command staff meeting there at your house, because we hear people like crying and fussing all the time. So I mean
Yeah.
that sounds like it's
Uh-huh.
sounds like you're at a firehouse right now. So
Welcome
it's
home.
pretty familiar to us.
Yeah, for
I,
sure.
I don't go to those meetings anymore, but I remember them.
Yes, 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 yes. So yeah, I mean, I guess I could tell you. I mean, where do you want to start? Right. So transition is
All right.
tough.
Well,
Like I
let
don't
me
know.
ask you this,
Yeah.
because a lot of what I've experienced from some of our military veterans who've transitioned either into law enforcement or the fire service is when they come back into civilian life, even in a paramilitary organization. Sometimes that transition, isn't as easy for them. I mean, they're used to a military lifestyle, a life of service. We all live a life of service, but it was very difficult for them to kind of transition into that. And you've been with some organizations making that happen. So, how did it work for you, and what are you doing to help some other people along that journey?
It didn't work, right? So when military, whenever they get out, when they go through what's called TAP, Transition Assistance Program. When I got out, TAP was 2 days, one of them was optional, right? So think about that. You're trained by the United States government for how long? You serve 2, 20, 40, 10 years, and then you get 2 days to transition. It's tough. Now, it's still tough because though transition, depending on your squadron, your leadership, your branch, it could be anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 months. But still, with that being said, it's like no one's really ready because again, you've been trained for so long, and what we're realizing is the end result's the same, right? The military, a lot of us are like, get me the heck out of here. I got this. And then once we get a taste of the civilian sector, it's like, help, let me back in almost sometimes, right? Because what we realize, no matter our rank, no matter if we were enlisted or officers, like no one cares if you show up. Integrity is an option, right? There's just all these little things that start to add up and again, snowball into something that's so much bigger. So, because I, like many of us, when we got out, I had so many jobs, guys. I've sold everything. My constants were bartending and serving because no matter what, I could connect with people. I could forget to bring in your order, but don't worry, you still love me, right? I forget to make your drink, you still love me. But I've sold everything. I've done everything from credit card sales to Pepsi. I worked at Pepsi. I sold jewelry. I was assistant branch manager at a bank. I've done all these things. And, I hypnotically drifted, as Napoleon Hill called it, and so many of us do. But the importance is understanding that there's a why behind it, right? All of those jobs prepared me for where I am here today now. So I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, man, transition's not a game. And a lot of us do transition into first responders, Leos, because we want to be a part of something bigger. We still want to give. We still want to serve our community as we once served our country. So yeah, that's what I do. Transition and sustainment intentionally is what I'm all about, for sure.
Awesome. And exactly, just to educate me, if nothing else, what exactly is a military engagement manager? I mean, as far as that being a title or a job function, what is it and what do you make it into?
Yeah, so that's the cool thing. I was with Grunt Style for almost 3 years. It was a great experience, but I started to look. I started to get that itch. I wanted to be able to. I started to feel like I was giving men fish, right? Because just so you know, in Grunt Style land, what I did was obviously did some amazing historical things alongside Burn Pits 360, courtesy of Mr. John Stewart, and getting the PACT Act passed. But on top of that, I created a program with help of Operation Homefront, Blue Star Families, Humanity, like all of these amazing change agents. I called them Grunt Style deployments, Grunt Style Foundation deployments, where I would go to military installations on and off base and post, and I would celebrate the military. What did that mean? That was 10,000 diapers, 10,000 pull-ups, 40,000 pounds of food. That's about 27 pallets. I would get nonprofit agencies in the military space like Irreverent Warriors, my brothers and sisters. Again, Mission Continues came out. The USO helped us, and we would do a drive-through event. I'd get a veteran DJ, and we would just have a great time, and they would drive through the line, and we would put toilet paper, toothpaste, deodorant, tampons. We would shove their trunks full of items. And it was great. Like I said, I've done it everywhere. I've done it on Pendleton or outside of Pendleton, Lejeune, San Antonio, obviously, on Joint Base Andrews twice, home of Air Force One, with other agencies. But again, I felt like I was giving a man a fish. So Step One Automotive put out this very vague job description of like military outreach manager. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. Don't even know where beaches, but let's try it out. So Step One Automotive is a car company in the Panhandle, 24 dealerships. They wanted to get intentional with the support for the military. Per capita, because there is no public transportation, the Panhandle is the largest collection of veterans in the United States. And Step One Automotive Group is very philanthropic. But they, again, wanted to get intentional. So they brought me on to stand up their nonprofit, Forever Warriors. So I'm not looking, full disclosure for anyone listening, I'm not looking to rework the wheel. I'm not looking to stand up programs. I'm looking to add value to the programs already in place. So that's what a military manager is. Again, I'm a private foundation. So I get to give money to different nonprofits like the Honor Foundation, which helps our special operators transition out of what they do into the civilian sector successfully. It's very thoughtful. It's a, I think, 3-month program to where Forever Warriors is paying for the location and the caterer, which is a military spouse owned business. So, military manager for me, it's different everywhere, but for me, it's getting out there and holding the community accountable.
That's awesome.
That's really
Yeah.
awesome, and we'd like to see more and more of these things. And you always find it very heartwarming when you go to a restaurant, a strip mall, whatever it is, and they have the expectant mother parking sign, and they have the veteran only parking sign, and I wish they had more of those spaces. And there's a program. I know there's several offshoot programs and several private programs. There was one down here in West Palm they called Waterfront Warriors, where they would bring our warriors who come back home. Most of them had fairly debilitating injuries, and they take them out fishing, scuba diving. They bring their families down to the beach, just kind of let them decompress for a while. So that organization in this local area does a phenomenal job. And as Ben and I were talking about some other conferences earlier, that COVID really kind of kicked everybody, throat punched everybody as far as being able to fundraise and to do a lot of things. And now that we're on the tail end of that, I'd really love to see some of these things bloom. And then also for us in the fire service, because we do have so many military veterans, and I wish Bobby was on right now. He's one of our cohorts who's a Navy veteran. He started out as a damage controlman in the Navy and has had a quite, I'm not going to call him an old guy, but he's had quite a lengthy fire service career. But what are some of the things that we're learning from you that we might be able to do internally to kind of push people towards these assets? Because if they don't know something exists or they don't know what question to ask, sometimes they just they don't receive the benefit of what they've earned.
Yeah, and that's the hard part, right? I mean, let's be real. There's over 60,000 nonprofits in the military space. 40,000 of them. But there are about 20 of us, doing God's work. And listen, I'm not dumping on anyone that sets up philanthropic efforts, right, to help demographic in need, especially our military. But yeah, it's hard. And that's what Forever Warriors is, right? My 3 to 5 year goal, I want Forever Warriors to be in Texas, to be in Cali, to be in DC and Virginia, where we have these big, high populations of military, because I want FW Forever Warriors to be the hub. So that if Trevor gets out of the military and he needs resources, he knows without a shadow of a doubt that if he goes to anything FW, they're going to be operate with integrity and answer the phone. That's one of the biggest things. It's like, great, all these resources, but no one answers the phone. Also, a website doesn't help me when my husband's losing his mind because he's having a moment. A website doesn't help me when my wife's deployed and my kids are having a meltdown because we just moved to another city again. You know what I mean? So just so everyone knows, that's what I'm doing. I'm building, yes, ma'am. I'm building, different systems and processes that will be repeatable throughout the country, but it's going to take time. In the meantime, it's hard. I mean, where do you go for resources? I would say Blue Star Families, no big deal. We can clean it up. Too easy. I would say Blue Star Families is an amazing resource. If you want co-signature to some of the ailments and issues that the military face, Blue Star Families, Operation Homefront, doing God's work. Obviously, the big guys like the USO, they're doing great things, but there's just so many. It really depends. And unfortunately, there isn't like one big, right? There's no Walmart for veteran services. It's all over. So yeah, I'm trying. All of my websites and everything goes live 1 March. So I'll be street legal 1 March. My websites, my social media, I'll have everything. Pinterest, Twitter, obviously Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all of that stuff. But yeah, until then, just, I don't know, man. I think, you know what I think, guys? Like the firehouse, like that, environment you just spoke of, you guys laughing, messing, people emotional, like that's what we need to recreate outside of the gate, off post, that ecosystem of support for one another, that brotherhood, that sisterhood. Because you know what? Those are the things that's working. So you mentioned in Florida that group that, and you said the F word, which I love, stand by. You said, they take them surfing, they get them out into the water, but they bring their families. Gold. That's the key. Because so many of these nonprofits are doing amazing work, but it's like a one and done, which it's okay. I love that. Good job. Which is okay. But the issue is like, if Tiffany and Trevor are married, Trevor's having a tough time. He misses his bets, blah, 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 blah. Awesome. Trevor, I found you a hunting trip in Texas. Go hunting for a week. Trevor goes for a week, gone. Meanwhile, I'm dealing with the kids. It's spring break. It's a mess, whatever. Now Trevor comes back, and Trevor's even more sad than before he left. Why? Because he got a taste, right? He got to be around his brothers and sisters that served, and now he's even more depressed. Meanwhile, I'm like, you're home. You need to pick up the baton. Wait, why are you even more sad? You just had a week away. So I think the thing that's really going to help all of us as a community is creating that family environment, that outside the gate, that ecosystem of support. That is just so important.
And Tiffany, you probably appreciate this analogy, and Ben, especially you with a young family. You In the fire service, we talk about having two families. There's our fire service family and our home family, and there's a lot of overlap, but there's a lot of times because of either regular shift work, assignments, deployments, whatever the case might be, we spend more time with our fire service family than we do our own, and trying to I would say reprogram yourself sometimes when you come off shift or you come off a certain assignment, and then you've got that 4 or 6 year old or 15-year old that you're still in work mode, and you're trying to talk to them like people that you have just worked with for the last however many hours or operational periods. So when you talked about the family, that was something so cool when the Waterfront Warriors did that. They would bring the families in, they would get hotel rooms for them, they'd have events, and it was one of those things. It's almost like being on a cruise ship. Either you could participate as much as you wanted to or as little as you wanted to, but there's always something there. And but just like you said, there wasn't kind of that dichotomy of saying, all right, I had a break, but now also when I took a break for me, I took a break from my family, and that cost some chips out of the bank on some of those things. So Ben, what's your view on this? As someone, especially with a young family, right? You're not young anymore, because and by the way, happy 40th birthday again, there, buddy. But
Yeah, thank you. Oh, hang on a second. We're also celebrating a 22nd birthday, right?
No, we're gonna own it. We're gonna own it. I'm 40 today.
Congratulations. Cheers.
Congrats.
Cheers. Where's my water bottle? Cheers. There it is. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So a couple of things that we've I've got a little timer up in the corner. In the 18 minutes that we've been on, 18 minutes and 30 seconds, I've filled up a couple pages. They're post-it notes, but it's a couple pages of these little things of stuff that I wanted to get back to. The first one is one of our previous guests, Battalion Chief Kurt Isaacson, works in Escambia County, is a huge proponent of the fire service, and is all about doing the right thing. And his passion for doing that is next level. So when we close all this off, or before we hang up, I'm gonna send his information to you as well, because he's awesome. And like we got him on, and it was like, I think we kind of talked the other day, like, if it's a great conversation, we kind of try and wrap it up, but we let it go. Like his was like, Chief, Chief, all right, time out. Right. We got to cut this off. It was a great show, but just a great human being, and loves, like, his passion is next level. So I think that would be a great contact. And I think he has some friends that actually work in Fort Walton Beach.
I believe it.
Like in the higher the management portion of the department there. And if they're anything like him, they will be a great asset and great people to connect with. Chief, Chief Greg Temple from Spring Hill, Tennessee, has a great comment. The philanthropic business mind, love that. And then the transitioning vets to the fire service should be more of an initiative. The people that we're getting off the street now, like it's like, well, I mean, you guys get to sleep at work, right? Like that's cool. I'll do that, I guess. So you get people that come into the fire service that don't really understand it. They see that, for the most part, I say for the most part, we have the best job in the world. Like we get to ride fire trucks, we could go fast, we get to break shit. Like it's the best job in the world. It really is. And we get like when the shit hits the fan, we get to be there to make the difference. But they don't come into it understanding that. We're fortunate in that, or at least I've been fortunate in that people that have been mentors to me have explained that this is why we're here. It's not about you. It's about the people we're going to. Yeah. And that's why you need to be good at your job. But the people that we're getting into the fire service now, again, they see, oh, it's a decent paycheck. I can retire at 20 years. I get to sleep at work. I work 8 days a month. And they don't understand the bigger picture. Yeah. Whereas the vets that are transitioning out of the military that come to the fire service, they understand the structure. They understand the service. They understand the bigger picture and are going to potentially make the better employee, the better member in the fire service. Yeah. So I think that's a great comment.
It's amazing. And Greg, you're 110% right. And that's the thing. It's like, so just so you know, our pillars are mental health, transition sustainment, and community immersion, right? Because again, what I'm finding, and so many thoughts. So 7th group special operators are out here, and we meet once a month, breaking bread, right? And one of the local police officers came and he advocated, like, listen, guys, come to the force. And I was like, hell yeah. So you guys know, Uncle Jason was, I came from Albany, New York. So Uncle Jason worked for the DA for he was a detective for 20 years. Now he works for the DA. Cousin David's a police officer. There's like 2 or 3 others that are married in. Zeph is a firefighter out of Saratoga Springs, New York. So again, serving's in our DNA, like all over. And I say all that to say, like, once we get out, we're like, we're so done. But again, we forget that, like, we don't know a lot of things. We don't know how it feels where no one gives a crap if you show up on time. We don't even know how to navigate health insurance. Like, let's be realistic. If you served your whole country, you know what I mean? So it's like, and then like what I'm hearing over and over all over the US is like, I miss it. Like some of us could have eaten the most. Right. Some of us could have been through the most difficult of circumstances. Terrible. You ask most veterans, no matter where they are now, if they would suit up and go rock, too easy. What time? When we got to be there. That's just how it is. So I think that I got to figure out, another thing I get to figure out is like how to bridge the first responders with the military so that they understand they could still be a part of something so much more, still have that brother and sisterhood of just, again, serving your community as you once served your country, because that's what we look for, guys. Mm-hmm. I don't care if you served 1 year or 30 years, you were trained hard in certain ways, right? Like psychologically broken down and built back up. You miss it. There's a few outliers, right? Not everyone's created equal, but yeah, I wish, and I know that there's segues to it, right? From active to fire or active to police. I don't know. I don't know.
And Tiffany, I want to kind of touch on 2 things that you said. One, which I thought I heard you say, but I say this a lot to my folks. I believe you used the term "embrace the suck" earlier. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that, because that to Ben's point and your point, some of the folks that we're getting in the service now, they don't understand that mentality. That guess what? There's things that are just going to outright suck, but we embrace that suck, and it's like, what, it's going to be this is going to be unfun. It's not going to be clean. It's not going to be comfortable. But you embrace that because you're mission focused. And then something else, because I could have swore I heard you say that. So I'm glad I can't hear out of one ear and I can barely hear out of the other. So I'm glad I actually heard you correctly. But part of that bridging too, and not to throw another tentacle in this and make it muddy, but sometimes we get people towards the end of their career, and you had mentioned there's people that would suit up, and you said, "Hey, what time and where? Tell me when we're wheels up, and I'll be there." And I think that's ingrained in a lot of people who have that life of service. Unfortunately, all of us are going to get to that point where maybe we can't do it anymore mentally, we can't do it anymore physically. We have the desire, we have the will to do it, but we don't want to forget those people, because we're standing on the shoulders of a lot of people who came before us. And I mean that sincerely. And look, we all know that the generation after us is never going to do as well as we did it, and we're still dumbasses to the people who raised us in the industry. But to that point, Ben, and I'm going to throw you under the bus here for a minute, buddy. So grab your wrench and change the oil. But Ben and another one of our one of my former coworkers, Kim, they put together something for the retirees from my old department, and they called it the Legends Lunch. And we all felt a little weird by that. We're like, legends? We're just a bunch of old retired bastards from. But what was so cool is that these two people who were younger in our industry, who had really no skin in the game as far as trying to make us feel good, they would take the retirees and say, "Hey, you're not forgotten about," and they would bring us together to break bread once a month. We get together for lunch. We sit there, tell some old war stories, and bust chops and have some beverages and everything else. But we were able to still contribute by passing some of these things along, and then Ben and Kim would take those things. And it was great. So I think that level of engagement, Ben, that you and Kim had come up with was, number one, very humbling. It was just kind of when you would invite, I can just speak for myself, but when you would invite me, I'm like, dude, I'm not a legend. I'm not been retired that long. I'm not that old. It wasn't a matter of age. It was just a matter of saying, hey, we still want to include you because you're still relevant to us. And whether you were liked, disliked, whether you were the hardest charger, the laziest bastard in the unit, you were still valued at some point. And Ben, I want to thank you, and I'll throw the shout out to Kimmy as well. Thank you for that level of engagement, because I thought that was hugely important. Because some of those folks, as you well know, I was fortunate to be able to continue on in the industry, and there's some of those folks that couldn't. But to let them know that they were valued in their. Oh my God, there it is. And actually, I can't. I don't know if Ben, if you're wizardry on IT here, but tomorrow I'm actually getting on an airplane with one of these guys who's standing next to the guy whose 70th birthday we're getting ready to celebrate this weekend, and he was one of our probably most well-respected lieutenants that we had in our department.
Yay! Under Armour.
Can you do some cursor magic there, Ben?
There you go.
This is about the best I got. I don't do pictures very well.
But no, that's pretty good. Wow.
Yeah. Awesome.
And you know what was cool about that is, so like the thoughts that you guys had for all of that was like, we're not like, we just did our job. But like for Kimmy, like for me, like this was before I was full time with the department. Like I had the opportunity to work with most of those individuals. Like for me, it was more selfish that I wanted to come and hang out with these people.
Yeah.
To because of like how much fun that they had together, and I wanted to be a part of it, and like sharing their, because it's like you. Whoops. That it wasn't like. It was great to get to hang out with you guys, but it was more about me for that. Like it was cool. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed it too. But while I have,
that's so important, though. It's so important to do that, though, Ben. You need to give them. You need to. There's so much there, and what you did, you and Miss Kimmy, that's gold. Because like you said, you made him feel so good. And they had the opportunity, I'm sure, to relive some of the good times, bad times, and in between. And what's the saying? If you don't know your history, you're bound to repeat it. It's just. And that's like another thing that I want to do. It's like with our VFWs and American Legions. One of the things I want to do, again, 3 to 5, right, is if they want to smoke and drink, do that from 4 o'clock on. But during the day, let's open up the windows, let's air it out, let's get some computers donated in there, and let's make it a shared workspace. Let's get the OEF and OIF guys in there. Let's have those uncomfortable conversations that separate us. You guys got all the health benefits. Yeah, you're right. That sucked. Everyone focused on OAF and OIF. You know what I mean? No one, Desert Storm and all that. But let's talk about it. Let's make it weird and let's break down those barriers. And also, let's start getting some people in these, because some of them are really, really nice. And the ones that aren't, all right, cool. If they're falling apart, get JROTC in there. Again, that community, that ecosystem of support, you know, but again, I applaud you. I try to do that when I go to the VA or when I was in Albany. I would go an hour early, take a deep breath and be like, you can do this. And I just sit with them. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, they're much older than Trevor, I'm sure, a lot of them, but they just want, that's all we want is just to be someone to listen to us, to be acknowledged, you know?
Oh, that was so nice. I mean, very insincere, but thank you for saying that anyway.
Yeah, the camera subtracts a couple years from Trevor.
Stop.
Okay. Shut up, Ben.
Yeah, Ben.
The other thing I wanted to talk about was the transitioning from service. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's as much emphasis put on that for the fire service. You know, like when you were transitioning out, it was 2 days. When we transition out, it's like, oh, your shift's over, year 30, year 25, year whatever it is, 0700 comes, your shift's over. Hey, we're gonna need your uniform back. Well, it's all I wore. No, we're gonna need that back. Okay, well, I'm gonna leave naked then.
Yeah, your gear locker already has a new name slot in it, you know?
Yeah.
Really?
So you leave, you turn all your stuff back in, you might have a retirement party, and that's it. Like
that's so bad though.
Right.
That's so bad. Because like, what do you do with all that weight? That emotional weight?
And and for the longest time, and I would say for the last probably 5 or 6 years, the fire service, I think, has really started to look at the mental health aspect of that, of like unloading that. Hugh Hummel, one of the guys that retired from Ocean City, love him or not, he made a great comment that everybody has their bucket of shit. And some people have really good coping mechanisms, so their bucket of shit doesn't overflow. As it fills up, they're able to unload it, to take some of that out, and they're good. There are people that can't unload it. And like the bucket's still a 5-gallon bucket, but it's just overflowing with shit that they can no longer handle and they can no longer take, and then they have problems. So you go from the years of whatever that you've dealt with, and you retire, and now you're out, and it's like, now you're carrying around this 5-gallon bucket of shit. Well, it still stinks, and now there's no resources. And I think we're doing a better job now than what we were of having resources and having people to talk to and paths to go down to address that. But again, 0700 on after your last shift, hey, thanks. We'll let you know, like, we'll see you at your retirement party. And that's it. Like, and like at some point, that person has to have that difficult conversation in the mirror of, this is my last shift. You know, like there are some people that like they would stay forever if they could, but they can't. You know, and like at some point they have to make that conversation, or they have to have that conversation. They have to make that realization, and then to be treated like that is just an absolute shame.
Well, and Ben, I see the same thing, you know, with our veterans, and like I say, I'm glad to see some things maybe too little, too late, but at least it's there. You know, very very similar. Where you know, look at our Vietnam era veterans who were completely crapped on. You know, my father-in-law is a Vietnam veteran, Marine Corps. My father was a Korean War veteran, Marine Corps, and you know, sometimes they were just forgotten about, or you know, when you see that old man in the World War II hat kind of shuffling down the street, you know, you got to realize that when he was around your age and maybe a little bit older, maybe a little bit younger,
he would have beat the brakes off you. Yeah.
And when you were 19 years old, you know, bitching about, you know,
Wi-Fi.
You know, oh, my Wi-Fi went out for the weekend, and knowing this guy was actually storming a beach somewhere in Europe, uh, you know, there's a little bit different work ethic there. So, not, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too. Well, I do want to go down the rabbit hole, but
Yeah.
here's my point behind it is that, way too often, and one of my friends, friend of Ben's as well, tomorrow again we're heading up to celebrate the 70th birthday of somebody we respect very deeply and worked with for a long time, and he had a career-ending injury. Ben, you and I were on that same call. So, looking at some of those things where when this guy who served exceptionally well for our old former department, I mean, the guy's the freaking golden child. I mean, he could fall in a pile of shit and come out smelling like a rose, not because he wasn't a BS or anything. Well, he was a little bit, but he he was genuinely a good person. I mean, special ops guy all the way around. But to see how he was discarded essentially at the end, where there was no more worth and value, and this guy had given so much, personally and professionally to that department, it was so disheartening. So I kind of look at this, and this is where I kind of want to get your, see what lens you're looking at this through, Tiffany. Is we want to make sure that we're trying to take care of these people regardless of what their service was, Leo, fire service, military. But at the same time, I think they kind of, you were talking about breaking down those barriers and walls, and here's what I'm going to tell you, and then want to see what your thoughts are. We kind of need to be around our own kind a little bit. It's nice for someone to be sympathetic, but it's also better for someone to be empathetic because they chewed some of the same dirt. They've been down the same hallway as we have. Doesn't mean that the people's care for us should be ignored. But when someone says, thank you for your service, oh, my pleasure. But at the same time, when, if Ben comes up to me and says, hey, brother, thank you, I know where that's coming from, because we've been down that same hall. So with that, I'll tell you this very quick story. My next door neighbor, who is a police officer, he was in the U.S. Navy. He was a little bit after Bobby. Ben, you met my next door neighbor, didn't you, when you were down? Okay. Well, anyway, he was a corpsman. He was assigned to Marine Expeditionary Unit. He was supposed to go to jump school, and at the last minute, they pulled his orders or anything else. So he never got to jump out of airplanes and helicopters the way he wanted to. Well, he found this thing in Central Florida where all these military people go, and they earn wings from around the world. So if like, the Peruvian army is there and they have a jump program and you meet their, I'm like, you guys don't like blood pin each other. Because now we're too old for that crap. Yeah, we'll get infections. But anyway, so it was so cool because he's been up, and next year for the anniversary of Normandy, they're actually going to jump out of a vintage aircraft over Normandy. But here's the thing. He goes, there were people, even in my own branch of service, he said, he was an enlisted guy. He was a NCO, when he got out. But he goes, I would have never talked to that major or that captain or that commander or anybody else, because we're us, they're them. We hold the same flag up here, but there was a dividing line. And here we're jumping out of an airplane together, and we're sitting there slamming Johnny Walker Black at the bar at the end of the night. And here the officer and the NCO are now arm in arm with each other and looking at what brought them together. So I thought that was something really, really cool that he was able to experience, and so glad that he did.
Yeah. So when I came on to Forever Warriors, it was a name, and Forever Warriors, no mission, no vision, no values. I made them all. Right. So I want to share my values with you because you both touched on some really key important parts. And there's so many thoughts there, but I'm going to stay focused. I wrote my notes. So as you were speaking, but so here are my values, right, for Forever Warriors. So I'm going to read the whole thing. So our values are to establish and uphold a sense of pride, that sense of fulfillment that comes with being a part of something so much greater than ourselves, right? Just as we did when we served our country. So here are my 4 values. So first is integrity. First, foremost, always, non-negotiable, integrity. The second is united belief. It's the shared confidence in each other as well as faith that together we can make the impossible possible. The last 2 are what we need so much more of, both in the military and as we transition out. And I love how you said, like, sometimes you need your people because your people have eaten the shit with you, right? We've waded through it together. But egos are a thing, and those need to sit down yesterday, right? So shared humility and respect, remembering how little we know and coming to everything with a curious and learning mindset. Just because we're both Marines doesn't mean I was like you. I could have been finance, could have been admin, right? Um, and sometimes I'm just going to call it like it is, the bro vet mentality, and it's females too. It's not just male vets, but like stop it. That serves no one. That makes us look silly, and you're not in it anymore. So let it go, Elsa. Right? It's just this weird, like macho ego type stuff that I have no time for. You guys like that? Love that you do. Say it to my 6-year-old all the time. And then lastly, and I want to say almost most importantly, is the compassionate empathy. So that's moving beyond simply standing in someone else's shoes. Thank you for your service. But walking alongside them in a respectful, equitable way and helping to alleviate their suffering. Right? I think we need to stop trying to just put a band-aid on something that needs a tourniquet or just needs to get, amputated all the way. And, it's really interesting because when I speak to different military installations around here, I express a program that I'm really passionate about. It's called ETS sponsorship, and it's a two-pronged program, right? So one of them is a full day veteran cultural competency. What is VCCT? It's an annual training, right? Because all these businesses say, "Oh, we support military, we hire military." Awesome, great, that's cute. What's the retention of that military? Because over half of us leave our first job within the year of getting out of service. So, so what veteran cultural competency does is it kind of enlightens the employer, colleagues of the employee, to let them know that we think different. We're a little bit different. Here's an example. Ben's a business owner. Tiffany puts in her resume. Tiffany served 25 years in the military, or 6 or 2, doesn't matter. Ben hires me. I hired a veteran. Yay, great, awesome, great. So time goes on. I go to meetings. I'm good at clean, not in uniform, but I show up. I'm respectful, blah blah. But every meeting, I don't really add much value. Ben goes and plays golf with Trevor. Trevor's like, "Hey man, I met John. John's a mover and shaker. He's biz dev. He's brought this company from here to here. Man, you could really use it." And Ben says, "Well, you know what? I did just hire Tiffany like 6 months ago. Let me think about it." So you go on his LinkedIn, you go on his social media, you really see that he is, bee's knees. So what do? Tiffany doesn't really bring much to the table. She does her job, but this guy, ready to rock. So now you let Tiffany go because she never spoke up. But what you may not understand is that for the 2, 12, 15 years, Tiffany's been told to keep quiet. She has not had the opportunity to even be in the room with people where the decisions are being made. Now that can flip too, right? Officer, let's take Lieutenant Colonel. Same thing. Depending on the amount of brass that's in that room with that LT, COL, they may not say a word, right? And employers may not know this. They just may see Tiffany as like, she's good, but we can go get him. So there's little nuances and things like that need to be brought to people's attention. Because again, everyone screams they love hiring military. I'll hire you out. Great. What's the plan? How is your HR department going to help us understand how to sign up for health insurance? Because we don't know how to do that. Also, we're going to feel like shit when you don't care that we show up. Okay? Ben says, get there at 0800. Bank opens at 9:30. Get there at 8. Tiffany's there. 7:45. Trevor shows up. 8:15, 8:30. But he has Starbucks. So Ben's not mad. So now I'm counting down the drawer. Ben's like, "Tiffany, come on, let's go. Let's go." Like, excuse me? I'm late because of him. As you're drinking your Starbucks, reprimanded. You know what I mean? So it's like little stuff like that starts to add up. And unless employers are conscious of some of the ways that we were trained, it's just not going to work. Also, what's the path? The military, airman basic, airman for class, senior, like the path. What's the path to success at your business? What does 3, 5, 10 years look like? What are the opportunities from the rip out the gate? So again, there's so much. There's so much, but it all starts with, I think compassionate empathy, humility, respect, integrity. You have to let the egos go. You have to be open, and you have to understand, like, listen, if this is too heavy for you, tell me that and step aside. You know what I mean? Like, don't try to feed me shit and tell me Cheerios. Like, no one has time for that. We're literally dying. And also that 22 a day number, I think that's cute, but I don't think that's real. Not after coming here with all these special operators and breaking bread with them. And like, no, but we have to do better. And it starts now. This is my why. You know, you asked about my hashtag until every veteran wants for nothing. That's when I stop.
Well, Tim,
That's when I stop.
let me ask you this. Is there anything out there now? Because, like you said, there's a lot of people, a lot of employers who will tout themselves, say, yes, we hire veterans and we give you preference. That's great. That's wonderful. But how does maybe a non-military employer or someone who doesn't have any
Yeah.
military family background, how do they look and say, okay, how do we look at what your MOS was in the military, and how do we match you to a job here
Yes.
and also give you that pathway? Is there any organization or any I don't even want to call it a foundation. Is there any
Yeah.
educational material out there? Because like one of my local places here, well, actually, no, it's that way. I'm sorry. Over that way,
Yeah.
guy owns bar and grill. He was, he was a corpsman in the military. He tries to hire some veterans, but he speaks the language. He understands it. So the transition for him is really easy to say, okay,
Too
what did you
easy.
do in the military? Because like you said, you could be admin, you could be infantry, you could be, you have,
Medic.
you have to match up the skills. So for the other 98, 99% of business owners who probably are not militarily minded or inclined, what's out there for them to say, hey, if I want to do the right thing, how do I do it? Who can they reach out to, or if anybody?
So that's the thing. And that's a struggle that my dear friend, God rest his soul, Justin Constantine, he was amazing. You Google him, you'll see my heart. He's no longer with us. But, he had a program. I'm not sure what happened to the program, so I'm not going to put it on the airwaves, but that's what it was. It transposed MOSs, AFSCs into civilian terms so that it was attractive to Trevor, the, software company, or Ben, and, his whatever that widgets, because you're right. Most places aren't, I think it's 0.6% of us serve now, you know, and there's over almost 250,000 veterans that get out every single year. And most places aren't military minded or focused. So there's a ton of programs that help, right? There's so many. But again, it's like drinking from a fire hose. Obviously I'm biased to ETS sponsorship. And so you guys are aware, ETS sponsorship is what is the ETS? My mind is blanking. Time and service. Expired. Oh gosh, I'm gonna get beat up for this. Bring it on, guys. Sorry, I'm not perfect. I get up at 04 every day, so there's that, and it's my birthday. But let me hold on. Let me just. I'm gonna lose it now. ETS military.
Come on, Google.
Expiration term of service. So ETS sponsorship is a program, and it's mandated right now out of Fort Hood. So anyone getting out at Fort Hood, they have to sign up for ETS, and ETS is two-pronged. One part is veteran cultural competency. It's a full day of training where, again, they teach you exactly some of the different things and the ways that we think. And it was really cool. One of the classes that I took, it was a hybrid. And a woman, Dr. Joe Geraci out of NYU, he's retired Army. So he works with students at NYU that get that clinical data to back it. He held the class, and I'll never forget. And the beauty of this program is a lot of VA employees are in this class, which is needed, right? We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. That's okay. And also the VA saved my mom's life 3 times. Okay, so I'm partial, I guess. But so during the class, he broke us out into breakout sessions. Dr. Geraci says, all right, guys, here's the deal. I'm going to give you these questions. You get them wrong, you got to push. At home, in person, you got to push. Everyone agree? Everyone agrees. So a woman in person got the question wrong. He's like, oh, that's wrong. I'm sorry, Barbara. You got to give me 5 push-ups. She's like, no, I'm not going to do that. He goes, yeah, you're going to give me 5 push-ups. Now, keep in mind, she was an older lady, right? And he goes, yeah, you agreed to do this, right? You didn't leave her. And she was like, yeah. He sat there on against his desk, and I literally got so emotional because I felt for the first time, he's like, people don't understand. When you say something, you have to do it. You have to do it. So it got super uncomfortable. I'm sitting there with goosebumps, like trying, like, don't come up eyelashes, right? But what ended up happening was someone from her team pushed, and he still had her push against a wall, right? And she was a VA employee. So imagine how many times she would have said, "Oh, Trevor, thank you for calling the VA. Yeah, sure, I'll get with Dr. So and so. I'm not doing that right now. It's lunchtime." You know? Or Ben, hey, you know what? I'm so sorry. You're gonna have to wait. You know what? I'll call your script in. I'm not doing that. It's time to go home. I guarantee you now, she thinks twice before ever saying something and not doing it because of Dr. Geraci and the way that he presented this veteran cultural competency program. So it's him, and then of course it's retired General Eastman, Michael Eastman, out of the DC area. He's fighting the good fight for us, right? Making sure this is passed. And so the ETS part of it is sponsors. As these military get out, get sponsors all over the United States. And my goal is to get the largest population of ETS sponsors here. So what's a sponsor? Ben's getting out. He fills out a list. I have kids, one special need. I have a dog. I'm food insecure. I'm not food insecure. I need help with this. I want to do this job. Ben gets linked with Tiffany in Florida because he's moving to Florida, right? 1 year ahead of you getting out, we start having a relationship. We talk every month. We get to know one another. And guess what? If me and you don't work out, Trevor's down here too. He's got you, right? But anyway, again, it's creating that ecosystem of support. So when that Ben gets out, him and his family move down here, or him and his dog move down here. He has a vet for his dog. His dog is his ride or die. And he's just, boom, he's got 3 or 4 interviews lined up because Trevor is a part of every single chamber. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I think it's so damn important. It's so important for this. So is there a specific website or group that can transpose MOSs, AFSCs? Probably. Where I would start if I wanted to learn more about the military is etssponsorship.com or org. That's where I would go. I would absolutely go there. What was that?
It's etssponsorship.com. I pulled it up.
Yes. Thank you. That's where I would go. Thank you. That's where I would start. I would start there to get to know the lay of the land first before you worry about what is this battalion, Know this. Any mojo walking off the street, this guy wins. This girl wins. You know, if we're going to compare just off the rip. I mean, obviously there's college and all of that, but I mean, you can't pay for real world experience, right? You can't buy that street cred, that, you know, so yeah, that's where I would start. For sure.
That's awesome, Tiffany. And because I think way too many people, as they say, the road to hell is paved with good intention. A lot of people just want to check a box. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, we hire military veterans, but and I never knew that statistic that you gave about how many military veterans actually quit their first job when re-engaging in the civilian world. And that's think about that. I mean, you've had a major change. Now you've gone to something where some people would look at that as saying, well, I just failed at something. And I'm not used to it. Failure has never been an option before. And now this didn't work out. And that's not part of my personality. That's not who we are. That's not who I am. So I can't imagine.
Now pile on to that TBI, traumatic brain injury, PTSD, military sexual trauma, a divorce, a ton of kids. Just compound that, right?
No,
and it's
exactly.
Just under 50% for the second year too. It's horrible. It's really bad. Yeah.
That's just that blows my mind because I knew there was a fairly high rate, or I want to say decent as in good, but there's a fairly decent rate of that job turnover. I had no idea until you just told us that statistic. That's mind blowing to me.
Is there are there any specific like career or job paths that seem to have better retention?
I mean, obviously, if you get out of the military and do it in the civilian sector, right? We all know the magical C word, contracting. That's what a lot of our guys do, whether that's contracting overseas and making a ton of money and, this though, right? Or contracting on installation, like my first sergeant when I was in, he's actually here. He retired here, like most Air Force do, because it's like, send me to the Panhandle, the Gulf of Mexico. But yeah, now he works in logistics in Hurlburt. That's what he does. So obviously those have a higher retention. But again, like when it's easy, it's easy. When it's not, it's not. And a lot of junior enlisted and junior officers get out like, what is this? A lot of senior leadership, with senior leadership, both enlisted and officer, it's like, hey, buddy, no one cares. That's a cute bird on your shirt. But in the civilian sector, no one cares. And you're not just going to go walking into six figures just because. That was a big issue that in San Antonio, a lot of the senior leadership that would get out there would assume that they would just, oh, well, I did that. No one cares. And that's the suck. No one cares. You know, and it's tough whenever you see people still in that mindset of like, oh, I have my people to do, like, yeah, there's a lot. There's so much. But know that there's a lot of us out there that are fighting the good fight, trying to make sure that none of us ever struggle. Because, you know, like I said before, with me, it was one day was optional. Now it's drinking from a fire hose. There's this program, and these programs are great. Hire Our Heroes, awesome. Work with them, love them. DoD Skill Bridge, they're trying like hell to keep up with that. Love them. It's a great program, and they've evolved and really held these companies accountable, because essentially DoD Skill Bridge is a program to where Ben's getting out, and Trevor's like, hey man, come work for me. You get out in a year, so he can work for Trevor for, I think it's like 3 to 6 months, and the military pays him, if that makes sense. Right? So Ben is technically active duty, but he's trying it out. And, you know, not all vets are created equal. Someone ruined it. So now the DoD Skill Bridge is trying to evolve and say, all right, you got to give me, what is their day-to-day? What does that look like, right? Because people have abused the system, but there's systems and processes out there. But again, it's just like, I always tell everyone, start with ETS. If you want to know about the military, start with ETS. If you really want to support, get veteran cultural competency certified. So that way, next time you talk to your colleague who's military or whatever, not to be like, hey man, it's not an award. I know military, I want. No, and every class is different because there's veterans in there that share their stories, right? But it's a good way to organically, like, really start to understand that we're different. So, yeah. Sorry, I don't have more stats. Blue Star Families has got you. So does Humana Military.
I mean, Tiffany, I think that's some great stuff, especially the skill bridge, because we were actually having a conversation about that today. Actually, on the opposite end, where we're having these young folks coming out of high school who are very adept. I mean, they can rule the world with their thumbs, but they don't have any skill sets. They're very tech savvy, but, as far as having those skills, and how do we bridge them in? And we're competing in the fire service with law enforcement, military, but we look at the enlistment rates are abysmal, not just in the military, but in the fire service and the police force, in a lot of things. So we have a pretty big boulder to push up the hill, I'd say, in the next several months to years, because who's going to be who's standing watch tonight? I know there's people in my community right now that I can go to bed tonight because they're on duty or they're overseas or they're in the station right now. I know that. But 10 years from now, what's that going to look like? So, I think we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Does military allow recruiting for external positions? Reverse engineering. Does the military allow recruiting for external positions? Yeah, absolutely. Contracting. Yes, they do. Oh gosh, what is GS jobs? Absolutely, they do. Yep. Just look it up. GS jobs, depending on what installation you're around, they absolutely offer them. You got to work yourself up. You got to work your way up. But yes, sir. In every installation, there are civilians that work alongside those of us in uniform. And to speak to Trevor, to speak to what you said about getting kids in, I mean, let's be realistic. Kids are overweight, medicated, and only want to do this, right? And that's tough.
But they don't want to do that. On the back of your phone, what's that?
They don't want to do this. No, they
don't want to do that.
Yeah. But so that's the struggle, and that's That's another initiative that I'm bringing to 2023. I'm calling it Operation Upstream. What is it? Once a month, get these recruiters, all branches, and the potential family members of those new recruits, get them together. Two agencies, Red Cross, USO. You're not asking for money. You're educating these soon to be military families on the resources that you offer, right? So most people don't know the Red Cross. If I'm in boot camp and Ben's my dad and uncle so and so or aunt so and so dies or there's an issue, most people don't know within 24 hours, Red Cross will have you on the phone with your military member. On top of that, the USO does so much more than just that weird room in the airports. They actually show up. They will send you things. They will absolutely take care of you. And so, hashtag Operation Upstream, stay tuned. Watch my social. I'm going to do it. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to hear that. Okay. Because if shit gets real, who's going to go? Who's going to go? We need to, again, it's about creating this ecosystem of support. We can get these families together and excited about supporting their military. Like, I don't know. And this is a fun for our friend that keeps chiming in. Is it Gary? Greg.
Temple.
Yeah.
So Chief Temple is the fire chief in Spring Hill, Tennessee, for their fire department.
Okay.
He's moved around quite a bit. But him and Trevor were lieutenants together in Ocean City. And I briefly got to work in Ocean City while he was there, but just like top-notch guy, cutting edge,
yeah,
a great leader, a great boss. Like, he's the guy that, like, something comes up and you're like, shit, I got to go. Like, you call him and he's like, hey, do you need someone to go with you? Like, I'm coming with you. Like, if you need me, I'm coming too. I don't know who's going to run the city. I don't give a shit, but I'm coming with you.
Right. All
just a fantastic human being. And I can guarantee that a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, like, through this, like, when he goes for his next hiring process, like, he's going to have looked into it and he's going to be better prepared for vets to come to the fire service, to his.
Yeah. And tell him to give him my stuff. You guys have my stuff. But yeah, man, I mean, listen. You guys could do Operation Upstream with, you guys as well, because again, it's about creating this ecosystem. Because I don't know if you guys, and Greg, look it up. I encourage you. If you guys ever Googled Marines' first phone call home, the Marines' first phone call home, or at least it used to be, unless it's changed in the past year or so, they open a phone box, right? Literally pick up the phone, read these lines, hang up the phone, and go. It is terrifying. Meanwhile, Tiffany in Air Force Land is like, I can't do, it's just totally different. But Marines, they literally open the box, call, I am fine, do not call me, and then they hang up. As a mother, if I knew nothing about the military and I got that call and I was like, wait, I would lose my mind. Imagine the peace of mind if I could pick it up and say, oh my gosh, Trevor's wife, Donovan just called me. He said that I don't know what to do right now. Can you please just meet me in the parking lot of Publix, HEB, Target? I just need a minute. I just need 1 minute. Could you imagine? But we have to create that system of support. And then think of the funnel now that when these recruits are off and training and boot camp and tech school and MOS, all of that, when they're off, what can these parents do or family members do to be involved? ETS. They're sponsors. They're going to the veteran cultural competency. They're sharing their stories about their brand. It's just all love, man. It'll work. You got to give me a minute, but it's going to work. Mark my words, man. I promise.
and that's what's kind of cool about planting these seeds, because I know Greggy, and I'll kind of chime in and make him feel self-conscious again. You talked about integrity, and that's if I've literally when he's been in Alaska, he's been in Texas, he's been in Tennessee, Maryland, Delaware, so he's almost lived kind of almost like a military life a little bit, because he's moved around so much. But he's all this vast experience, and when I've had the privilege of maybe someone calling to say, hey, you used to work with this guy, what do you think? If you can describe him in one word, and that's what I would always say is integrity. That was the first thing that came to mind. But I know that that seed that was planted, someone like Greg will take that and make that part of a hiring process, and not just do that for his own internal benefit, but also because of when he puts his instructor hat on and his networking hat, say, hey, this is something that worked really well for me. you ought to give this a thought. And he's always willing to create that network. And so Tiffany, thank you very much for offering up your your voice and your opinion, because I know people could reach out to you and get some of this vital information. I mean, I've learned a lot tonight myself.
Yeah, and I'm always, so here's the thing, a lot of people are like, oh, I like that idea, but I won't steal it. No, you have to steal it. You have to steal it. You have to make it so much bigger, better, and greater than anything that I can think of. Everything I share is for everyone. I'm never going to be like, this is my idea. I don't give a shit about the accolades. I promise you. I do what I do. I get, presentable because it gets attention. Let's be realistic, right? If I didn't have to do all this and we had the support that we needed, too easy, Joe Sargent, I'd be down by the beach writing emails. But again, until every veteran wants for nothing, I'm going to scream, I'm going to yell, and I'm going to tell everyone my ideas in hopes that they can take them and make them better, bigger, stronger, more consistent. So yeah, man. And I'm on LinkedIn, like at Proud Air Force Vet, I think. I don't know, but AF stands for Air Force. Okay, let's just talk about that for a minute. I made this email.
I get it now. It took me a second. I get it now.
I'm not going to. So I made all these things like Proud AF Vet, like, yay, Air Force. And my son was like, Mom, what are you doing? Why are you cursing all over the place? I'm like, I'm not. Like, and I probably cursed, like, shut the hell up, right? Mother of the Year.
Trevor, do you understand what she's talking about?
Yes, I do, because it was like a thought grenade. I mean, it went, and it took about half a second and went up. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, okay. Everything says Proud AF Vet, right? So that's like my LinkedIn, my Instagram, I think, my yeah, but not like that's Air Force. Okay?
Either way, I think it's cool as fuck.
I love Ben. Yes, it is. Fair. Yeah.
Oh.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Tiffany, I do have like kind of one semi-closing question for you. I do want to talk about the elephant in the room. No,
what?
Literally, the elephant in the room. Is there like more behind? Is the rest of the elephant behind the wall, or is
I've never heard that one. No, I'm obsessed. I'm pretty much a tiger and an elephant in the same, right? We're tiger because I'm a relentless, but elephants because they're big and just peaceful. But yet, they've been there because there's a mess. So go look at the laundry in the living room. Overrated. You need clothes, go dig. Use the core. Don't fall in, right? It's great practice. But no, I just want to thank you guys for having me. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, we're going to have you back on after March 1st when all of your stuff launches.
When
we're going to have you back on. When all of that happens, we're also going to share the shit out of all that.
Yay!
And all 7 people that look at our stuff will see it.
I'll get you 2 more.
Perfect.
Yeah, too. And you know what, too? Next time I come back, let me know like what you guys want to know, and I can try and get some people that are SMEs, right, or subject matter experts in that to come and sit and hang out with me and the elephant. I think that would be fun. To really dive in and get uncomfortable, because that's the only way things change is when you're so uncomfortable. You're like, this is not good. Let's make it weird.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, we've got there's a guy that he was one of our, I say new hires. There's been a couple of people hired after him, but is a Marine vet and like is just like a lot of the stuff that we've talked about where he came out of service. Mm-hmm. Sounds like there was some struggle because like he is like the picture of a Marine. Like,
yeah, you can tell. Yeah.
Like without him saying anything, you're like,
he's a Marine. Yeah. Point him out. Yep.
And I think, and I don't know this. I'm speaking for him. I don't know for sure, yeah. But I think there were some struggles. Like I know he was applying when I was going through the process to get hired in Ocean City. Didn't get the spot the first time around. Eventually did. But it was like, you got to be kidding me. Like, why wouldn't we hire him? Like, he's fantastic. Mm-hmm. To the point where, like, he calls, and I miss his phone call because I'm putting my 2-year-old in the truck. Mm-hmm. So I call him back, and I said, hey, man, just want to let you know you're on speakerphone in the truck with my 2-year-old. All right, great, man. I thought you were pissed that you weren't taking my calls. I was like, what the shit? Like, I was like, dude, 2-year-old in the truck. Oh shit, man, I'm sorry.
And you're like, this is not how this works.
That's not what. That's okay, man. What's up? How can I help you?
Right. What can I
But
do you for?
just a great kid, great guy,
Yeah.
great guy. So when he comes back, I think it'd be fun to get his perspective and his all of this too.
Oh, I love Marines, and Marines love the Air Force. Let's do it.
And Ben, just for full disclosure, again, I do have to apologize for the way I greeted you, because I did not make sure I checked the background pre-show to make sure I was not offering vocabulary expanders to young Harper.
Yeah, it's all good. So, well, with that, let's go ahead and start wrapping up.
Okay.
Tiffany, what? Give us some closing thoughts. What's our biggest takeaway? What should everybody go and do right now?
ETSsponsorship.com. And there's a spot where it says, how did you hear? Put Tiffany. They'll know. They'll be like, but yeah,
I'm gonna share it on the screen now.
Seriousness. Yeah, ETS sponsorship. Sign up to be a sponsor. Doesn't matter where you are. So top 3 states. One of them is right. So register to be a sponsor. One of them, I think the number 1 state is Texas, and then the fight for number 2 and 3 flip-flops between Cali and Florida. But definitely sign up to be a sponsor. You want to help your military, you got to figure us out first. It's 2 days, 2 full days. It is remote. You can click I hereby consent. That's fine, just to show if you wanted to. I can tell my guy, Brian, that we messed around with it. Then continue. Yeah. You literally just fill this out, guys. We need sponsors. People are going back home. People are, getting out and going back home. Like I said, almost 250,000 of us get out every single year. Give 2 days. That's it. 2 days to learn about us. 1 day to learn about us, and another day to learn how you can help us reintegrate back into the civilian sector. That's it. That's all I have.
All right, I'm gonna leave that up. Trevor, what do you got for us?
Thank you.
Well, Tiffany, I just want to thank you so much for lending your time and talent to us tonight. It was great to have you on. Definitely want to have you back on. I learned a lot tonight, and I think there's we definitely picked up some nuggets that we can pass along to other people. So, sincerely appreciate not only your service but your passion to keep serving, which
Yes,
that's kind of that's a big deal, because we all get tired, and there's a difference between quitting and taking a break when you need to, and I don't think you've taken a break. So with that, I appreciate everything that you're doing very much.
Yeah.
All right.
It's my honor. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you again for coming on and joining us. Like I said, March 1st, I'm gonna be watching. I actually work that day. And all day, like all they're gonna see is like, where is it? So I'm gonna be watching for it. And like I said, we're gonna share the shit out of it. We're gonna get it out as much as we can. Because it's something that, again, we've all through the fire service, the police department, military, we've all gone through something similar, and having those resources and making sure that no one gets left behind, is huge. So anything that we can do to help with that, we're all in.
Thank you, guys.
So thank you again for joining us. It was a great show. An hour and 13 minutes. Like that's again,
fun.
Conversation was good. We're not messing with it. We're going to keep on going until it stops. So
all right.
As far as Strike the Box, March 2nd is our next show. So keep an eye out. We're working on some stuff to get a buddy of mine retired from DC Fire to come on. If that doesn't work, we're still going to have a show. We're going to talk about something. No idea what it was or what it is. March 16th, we're going to throw it out there early. Lieutenant Austin Enzer from the Bel Air Fire Department, Bel Air Volunteer Fire Company in Harford County, Maryland, is going to join us. And then we're also working on a show for the end of March. Tiffany, might be you again.
Listen, March is Women's History Month. Can I get some women firefighters? Like, can we find some females? What was her name? Miss Tina, Miss Kim? What's her name?
Oh, well, we've had Kim. We've had several on. Actually, Ben can probably go through the Rolodex of the previous shows. because we've had several very noteworthy guests on here, and women in the fire service, and
yeah, we had
very
that
very
was
colorful.
a great show.
And we
had
had
okay. I'm just making sure because I'm like, hold up.
Oh no, because Chief Latasha Clemens, she's up in Georgia now, is from down here in Florida. She was a very big in what they called iWomen, which is the Women in Fire, that organization.
Oh.
And then our friend from Canada, Esther. I've known her for a number of years. I mean, just we've had some phenomenal guests on there. So you're ranking up there with the top ones.
Yeah.
Yay! Awesome.
Yeah. That Women in Fire was a great show.
That was phenomenal.
But yeah, we'll get something in there for March too. So
good stuff. Yeah, you guys, you have my number. Call me, text me, whatever you need. I got you guys for sure. And then Trevor, I'll let you know for the Sebring race.
Perfect.
If I'm flying in near you. So guys, thank you so much. Max, say thank you. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Thank you. Stay safe,
guys.
And good night, everybody.